Hello there. Thanks for joining me. We're not live this week. We're pre-recorded because today, at my usual transmission time, I shall be head deep in the Label Line Biennial Dangerous Goods web show, which starts today and runs for the next 2 Tuesdays as well. So again, for the foreseeable, I'll be in recorded format. That doesn't necessarily mean I've got it right, I have to say, because we don't have the time for too much editing these days. Anyway, it's now 6 months since I went into lockdown. I've been pretty much isolated ever since, and I'm kind of getting used to it. And I have to say, it's been very relaxing, really. It's not to say that I haven't been doing the work that I normally do, but I haven't had to spend time running around the world, sitting on planes, sitting in airports, sitting in hotel rooms of an evening, catching up with work, even though I've spent 8 hours in a conference room. So there's none of that. And it's good for the soul, I think, to be honest, and I feel a lot better for it. But I watch the news, and still there are people, lots of people, out there, rush, rush, busy, busy, work, work, bang, bang, as they say. And it seems that despite the opportunity that the COVID pandemic has offered for us to take a look at how we live our lives, there's a lot of people desperate to get back to living their normal life. They're still watching the TV, they're still reading magazines and newspapers, and they see constant stream of advertising telling them that their life is rubbish, and if they just got up and did this or spent that or bought this, life would be so much better. In fact, here where I am, life is pretty good. I've spent the summer watching the family of buzzards across the field raise their chicks, teach them to fly, and I think they're hoping that they're going to be leaving the nest pretty soon, because it must get crowded in there. Yesterday, I saw something out the corner of my eye at the window here, and there was a wood warbler sitting on one of the tall grasses. Lovely. Why am I talking about this? Well, firstly, I did see at the weekend a programme on the BBC about the sustainability in terms of the way that humans are using the earth and the impact that we're having, and how that's leading inexorably to worsening climate change, and the idea that we're going to be able to limit temperature rises across the globe to 2 degrees is pretty fanciful looking by now. It was fronted by Sir David Attenborough, of course, of one of our national treasures here in the UK. It's still available, I believe, on BBC iPlayer on catch-up. And if you didn't see it, some of it is pretty tough viewing, I have to say, because it is telling it like it is and telling us that really, if we're going to survive on this planet, or if we're going to have a survivable planet for humanity and for the rest of animal kind, then we are going to have to change our ways. In particular, there's overconsumption. The extractive industries are putting extreme stresses on many parts of the world. The overfishing, overconsumption in general. There are too many people on the planet, and they have too much money, really, I think. And I've noticed this for quite some time. One of the reasons I ended up moving out of London, I think, is that we expect a lot of things to be cheap. We spend a much lower proportion of our income on food than we used to. We demand cheap food, even to the detriment of the farming community or the farmland itself, because we're expecting too much of it. And what's all this got to do with dangerous goods, chemical logistics? Well, the other thing I've been doing over the past week or so is preparing our October issue, which regular readers will know is the big issue of the year, and it goes to the EPCA annual meeting, which this year is its 54th annual meeting and the first one ever to be taking place in a virtual fashion. It's going to be interesting to see how that works. But of course, these days, that's how things happen. There are, well, I don't want to tell you too much at the moment about it because I don't want to steal their thunder. Other than to say that one of the things that they will be looking at in great detail and across the chemical industry, petrochemical industry, and the chemical logistics sector is sustainability, and in particular the move towards trying to find a pathway to a circular economy for the chemical industry. Now, this fits in with these ideas of sustainability because we only have, we have one planet, we have finite resources. And as Henry David Thoreau said, I believe, what's the use of a fine house if you don't have a tolerable planet to put it on? So the chemical industry has really got to find a way of taking control of its production all the way through. You can't just extract raw materials from the ground, convert them into plastics in particular. Plastics are brilliant things. You can do all sorts of things with them. They last forever. But that's the problem. Once you've made them, you can't get rid of them. So why are we using single-use plastics? It's ridiculous. And the chemical industry, I think, has to find a way to close the loop on its output so that rather than producing everything out of virgin material, there's got to be a way of reclaiming production once it's been to the end user and been used and finished, bringing it back, reusing it, remanufacturing. To some extent, the industrial packaging sector has been doing this for quite some time. The major manufacturers, certainly Mauser and Schutz and Greif, all have systems by where they're used packaging plastics drums, steel drums, IBCs and so on, can be taken back from the end user once they're emptied, recleaned, remanufactured, and used again. And that provides, I think, perhaps a model for how the broader chemical industry can do the same sort of thing. It's interesting that EPCA is going to be looking at that because it's clearly come to the top of their agenda, and I think the chemical industry as a whole needs to be able to show that it is taking these sort of pressures seriously and these demands from the public governments. If we're going to meet the UN sustainability goals, for instance, these sort of things are going to happen. But it also shows that there are certain sectors of the industry that are not already thinking about it, but they're already doing it. They have been doing it for some time. And the other thing is that it's going to place a responsibility on the logistics sector for playing a big role in collecting used material, bringing it back and putting it into some sort of recycling, remanufacturing cycle. Like I say, if you haven't seen that David Attenborough program, I urge you to do so because it might just make you change your mind a bit. It certainly had a big effect on me. And I know last week I promised that I'd be talking more about the upcoming rule changes, but I'm going to leave that for next week because I might have a better idea after I've seen the Labour Line web show this afternoon. So with that, that's it from me for this week. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next week. Bye for now.